Alright, hello and welcome everyone. This is going to be another one of those conversational type videos for character builds, but this video is going to be the foundation for all future videos regarding DPS. This is going to be probably one of the most important videos that I upload for the division, because I think that this is a turning point for the entire community and that this is going to start spreading, that this is how we're going to start approaching DPS. Because we've finally gotten through to the mathematics, and I'm assuming other people are going to start uploading videos that are similar once they start learning stuff and start spending some time on it. And so last week I uploaded an SMG crit damage guide video, and in that video I created a character build that had one of the premises of it was to completely ignore the DPS number in the game, that it wasn't the thing that you needed to be focused on. You needed to be focused on your situational type stuff and build your character around what situation that you were going to be in. So my character build was for the Dark Zone, and it was for grinding high level elite characters and doing high damage to elite characters through getting elite bonus damage, headshot damage, crit chance damage, and getting up in the face, having enough survivability to get right up in the face with my SMG of elite targets and spamming my bullets right into their head and doing lots of damage that way. And my point was in that video, and you heard me say it, is that you just completely ignore the DPS number, because the DPS number that's showing in game is not the actual DPS that you're pulling in the game, and it's not an all-tell number about what your DPS is. Your DPS is going to be a situational type stat, okay? That's what I talked about in the video last week. So before I could go on with another build video, I really started to need to get into the math of the game. Now, I spent a lot of time working on YouTube this week and Twitch and doing things and trying to get things caught up, because I've been off of YouTube and these things for 2 years now, and so I've got a lot of work to do, and I'm starting to get there. But last night I found a little time, and I started to say, well, okay, well, my next video is going to be a build video. So what I want to do is start getting into the math. So I went out and I started looking for someone who had already done some work. At least I could take some shortcuts and I wouldn't be spending the entire weekend doing math. And as it turns out, someone has done all of the work. And so what I ended up doing was spending 5 or 6 hours last night testing numbers, looking at the logic and thinking about things that of what the person was doing, thinking about the math formulas that he came up with, how they're affecting things. We'll get into that in more detail later on with how things are affecting this and that. But the important thing to take away from this stuff that I found out today is that the DPS number in the game is definitely wrong. That is a mathematical fact, and I'll show you that here in just a second. And that we need to be approaching things differently, which is the way that I approached my previous build, and the only build that I've uploaded is I approached it in a different way than many people are approaching builds. And a lot of people out there, it's one of the things I think needs to change in the community with the division, is there's a lot of people out there that are just throwing builds out there, and we need to treat this game more like an MMO than it is Call of Duty. Like, just because some dude plays with a FAMAS and he thinks he's a monster with it, and then everybody in the game uses a FAMAS, doesn't actually mean in an MMO type game that that's the case. Because there's a lot more math going on behind the scenes, and the fact that most of people's builds are based completely off the DPS number is just telling you enough right there that the DPS number is actually wrong, so their build's not very good after all. And so you need to be paying more attention to people that are putting in hard work like this guy. Look how much work this guy did. It's amazing. You guys owe him at least some views over there. Check out his channel. I've actually, on my page here, I've got his video put into my division playlist. It's such a good video. I'm going to let him get into the detailed math because he already does that in this video, and I highly suggest you watch it. It's about a 16-minute video, and it's well worth your time. He's also working on an actual DPS calculator, and this thing is a little glitchy right now. The numbers aren't computing the same way, and I think that he says that in this video, that this DPS calculator is wrong right now. So, but he gives us another way to do it in the original post that he put up, which is a spreadsheet, and that's what we're going to be using today in this video. So go check him out. Skill Up. He did a hell of a job. He done a lot of work, and he deserves a lot of views, and he deserves some subs. He's got a good looking channel over there. Alright, so let's get into the spreadsheet and start talking about this formula that computes DPS that he came up with, and talk about whether it's actually right or not and how we can show that. So we got the spreadsheet here. You can get it and you can copy and paste it, okay? And inside this thing is the area right here. These blue numbers over here are the numbers that are essentially in the formula, okay? These are the numbers that are in the formula And like I said, I'm going to let him deal with the hardcore math stuff because he does a good job explaining it. Okay, so our weapon damage, accuracy, bonus headshot damage, crit chance, bonus crit damage, RPM, reload speed, magazine size, and a talent 1 is none are the things that are affecting the DPS number that you see in your game. These are the numbers. These are the same numbers that we're going to use and the same formula that we're going to use, but we're going to make some adjustments to it with the numbers. And what we're essentially doing is creating situational type stuff to see what our DPS numbers are in situational type things, and I'll explain that here in a second. Okay, so what we've got here is our weapon damage, which you can find on your weapon, our accuracy, which you can find in game, which is the stat that gets bumped up when you increase your accuracy with a weapon. Okay, mine's currently 41, and my base weapon damage is 9,880, and I'll show you these in game in just a second just to confirm them. 36% hit chance. I'll come back to headshot damage here in a second. 36% hit crit chance. 1.41, 141% bonus crit damage, 750 RPMs is what my gun's doing, 2.3 second reload time, and a 38 magazine ammo number. Okay, those are my numbers. That is how my DPS is getting computed. Okay, so going back to this bonus headshot damage number real quick, but I don't want to get carried away with too much with the math, but when you put your number in here, the lowest number that this should be is 1.5. The reason being is that it's calculating headshot damage, and headshot damage in the game has a base increase of 50%. So even if your character doesn't have any bonuses for headshot damage, the game automatically gives you a 50% increased damage for hitting someone in the head. So if you have a damage, a base weapon damage, mine's 9,880. If you hit someone in the head and there wasn't a bonus, you would hit them for 9,880. But that wouldn't make any sense because we all know that when you hit people in the head in video games, you get a bonus for it. So the bonus is already 50%. So if you take all the stuff off your character, the number is 50%. So the base number that you start off with here is a 1.5. So the extra damage that actually shows up on your character screen is the extra damage that you need to add to 1.5 to get to the number that I have of 2.13. And so I have 1.5, so I have 63% headshot bonus damage from my gear and stuff. The number in the game actually may be glitched out with that too, so just play around with that number and you'll figure it out when your numbers end up adding up. So let's go over here and look at the right before we go to the game right quick. 9880 base bullet per damage. Damage per bullet is the number. That's what your base weapon damage number is for. Let's go down to when I land a headshot, I do 21,044 damage according to this math formula. When I crit with a non-headshot, I do 23,810.8 non-headshot damage, and when I crit a headshot, I do 50,717 crit headshot damage, and these numbers continue to go on and on down through here until you get to the bottom, and it tells you I have a gun that fires, and it breaks down the RPMs, and it goes over the total amount of damage that you do per magazine. When you fire an entire clip of the magazine, it breaks down all of your numbers over here into non-crit headshots, non-headshots, crit headshots, and etc. All the different types of bullet hits that you can hit on a player that are affecting your damage. And then it divides all these numbers together with your how long it takes you to fire bullets and how long it takes you to reload to come up with your DPS number. Okay, that's the entire gist of this entire thing. So let's go test some of those numbers out on the game, and you'll see some of those same numbers that I just spit out in that math formula, and that will show you that this formula is working. So there's the 23,810.8 rounded up to 23,811. On a non-headshot crit is the yellow number. If you don't know, your yellow numbers are crits in this game for body shots, and they are pink. They're yellow for the headshot too, and then pink for the base damage number for headshot, to show you that you've hit a headshot. And the value, the gray number, is a body shot, non-headshot, base damage number. So there's the 9880 and the 23,000 number. And if we go up, there's the 50,784. It changed a little bit there for a second. 21,072 for non-crit and 56,000. Another thing I want to show you right quick is the difference in range depending on your weapon. I have an SMG and my range is at 15 meters right now. So anything outside of that, and it starts decreasing your numbers, and you can come in here and test it. You can see now my base number is down to 8530. So my damage has dramatically dropped off based on my range. So let's go back over here, and we'll fire down here, and now it's 6,300. It's kind of hard to see those numbers way down there. 6,300 now. that we're hitting instead of the 9880 we're hitting here. But the key here is that our numbers are the same as the spreadsheet. So we'll pull those back up and we'll see 23,810, 50,717. These are the same numbers that we're getting in the game. So we come down here to the bottom and it says I have a gun that fires at a rate of 750 RPMs. We know that that's a fact. It takes 2.3 seconds to reload. That is a number that's in the game. You can see that number. It has an adjusted magazine size of 38 bullets. It can fire 12.5 bullets per second, which is a math formula that's correct that he did. And it takes 3.04 seconds to dump its full mag, which is a number that I'm assuming he's tested. And to dump the entire mag and reload, it takes 5.34 seconds cycle time. So let's go back to the game one more time, and we'll start getting into some of the problems. If we go over and look, and I don't even know, the damn number's probably glitched out anyway, but it's actually, it's not 130,000, it's 138,000. Come on now. I know what it is. It's not even computing the right damn number right now. I just saw 138,000 pop up there, and it disappeared. Okay, either way, this is a great example. Not only does it glitch out, but the number is normally 138,000. So if I log out and come back in, that number is actually going to be 138,000. Right now it's showing 130,000. Either way, it doesn't matter, because let's go back over here and look at this. So we all agree that all of these numbers are the numbers that I have in my character screen. Did I show that? I don't think so, but we'll go look. My character, 9880. There's my, this number is fucking wrong too. 27%. It's actually 36% crit hit chance. Numbers glitched out. Critical hit damage, 141%. That's what I was talking about. Here's the headshot damage for extra 113% on top of the stuff. Here's my accuracy number for 41. Reload time, 2.3 seconds. It's all the same numbers. Okay? That's why all of the numbers that we're seeing here are all the same numbers I have over there, and that's why all the same numbers that we're seeing over here are all the same numbers. Oh, shit. I didn't pull up the thing. Sorry. All the same numbers we're seeing over here are the numbers that are seen in the game. So, I have I'm supposed to have 138,000 DPS in the game, even though it's glitched out and showing 130. So explain to anyone why this number is actually 155,000 damage per second down here. Because the game DPS number is actually just wrong. It's just completely wrong. So there's two different numbers on the spreadsheet at the bottom that can end up showing you your DPS numbers. One of them is 155,102 for me in this specific situation, which is including my reload time. If you remove the reload time, which will essentially end up giving you a burst damage, showing how much damage you can do per one cycle of your magazine per second, damage per second over one magazine instead of over multiple magazines, which is what the damage number in the game is counting reload time, which is fine, but there's some problems logically with that that he covers that you'll end up seeing it in his videos where he talks about that. I don't want to get too in-depth on that. Okay, so this burst damage number is the damage that I can do over the course of a gun. Alright, either way, the number we see in the game is this 155,000. This is the number that I should be seeing in the game, is 155,000 DPS. So, the entire basis of many people's builds is completely wrong because their damage is just completely wrong to begin with. So it's just wrong. It's broke. But not only is it mathematically broke, but it's also illogical. And it's because of the way it works. So one of the things factoring into this, and you'll see this here, is this number here. Let's go down to where I hit a headshot number. And then we're going to talk about situational stuff and how to use this to make builds. Okay? When I crit with a headshot, I do 50,717 damage. We already seen that. Okay? If I change this number, my accuracy number, to 75%, okay, I still do 50,717 crit damage. I still do the same numbers. But look how much it improves my damage. And so what is affecting, why is it affecting it that much? Why is the number going up that much? It's because if you look at the number of headshots that the game assumes that you're going to hit, this number affects that. So the way they're measuring DPS is saying that because my accuracy is 41% in the game, they're assuming that I'm going to hit 41% of my headshots. That is just a complete, like, illogical conclusion to make. And that's one of the reasons that even if the DPS number was right in the game, you still shouldn't be going by it. That's why my build that I uploaded in the SMG crit build video completely ignored DPS and focused on headshot damage and getting up close and hitting the target. In certain situations, my accuracy for headshots may actually be 41%. And so that's the key to this whole thing. This is a situational thing. And so this spreadsheet allows us to create situations because now we can come in and change the accuracy number. We're still going to use the same formula here. The same exact formula that they're using, the same exact numbers that we have in the game. The only thing we're going to change is the way that we're measuring how many headshots we're getting. So, for instance, one of the things that I said in my SMG crit guide video was that I would never use that build against players. Number one, it did a lot of damage against elites. That's obvious. But the other less obvious reason is that the chance of me hitting a headshot against a player is far less than the chance that I'm hitting headshots against PvE NPCs. And because I'm doing exactly what I was doing, it's a grind build. I was running up. You've seen go look at the video if you haven't seen it. I run up and I stick my gun to the forehead of NPCs. And so that essentially is raising this accuracy number for headshots. Think of the accuracy number only as the percentage of time that you think you're going to land a headshot. That's the only thing this number is important for. And it depends on what you think that number is. So if you're doing your own DPS numbers and you're not just inflating it to tell your friends that what you did in your spreadsheet thing if you start using this, but to actually do your stuff, you have to give yourself a realistic number that you're actually hitting stuff for. Okay? So, given the circumstances against elite targets and things like that, so two different situations. Let's say I'm playing against players with this exact build. Okay, I do a 9880 base weapon damage against a player. I do all the same other stats against a player, but I'm only probably hitting headshots. I'm not hitting headshots at 40% against players. So this build against a player actually doesn't even do the damage that it said it did originally. Let's lower that number. Let's say I only hit 15% headshots against players. My DPS number is no longer going to be 155,000. It's going to be lower. So my actual DPS, probably against players, is horrible. It's 123,000 now, which is lower than the game is actually telling me my DPS is. So it's a situational type thing that you can come in here and change and mess with. This tells you the thing that we already knew about my build and the thing that I logically came to a conclusion of, but I couldn't see through numbers in the game because the game, the formula is based on a flawed logic of how to measure DPS. So I already knew that this number was going to be horrible. That's why I don't fight players with my build. That's why I recommended in that video, do not attempt to kill players with this build. So let's bump this number. Let's go mess with this number right quick. And let's see what it actually does, not even counting the damage bonus versus elites. Let's give it a 75%, which is probably closer to the number that I'm actually hitting. Well, now I'm not only doing the 155,000 number that the game would spit out to me if it was using all the numbers correctly. I'm actually doing way higher than that for that specific situation with the build, which the build is intended for, and my actual DPS number is up to 195,825. This is logically a correct way to approach this, and it's also mathematically correct. We've already seen the mathematics add up. The numbers are still the same over here. 50,717 crit headshot damage. I didn't change any of those numbers. The only thing I'm doing is changing the number in the equation that affects the amount of headshots that I think that I'm going to hit. And the game is just applying that through the accuracy number, which is an impossible thing to attempt. So let's say you can't hit the broadside of a fucking barn. You have a 0% chance to hit a headshot. So as you can see now, you're going to get 0 non-crit headshots and 0 crit headshots. That changes in this area. You go down, your damage decreases all the way down to 105,995. So what that tells you is if you have if you can put this number in, and you know how accurate you are in certain situations, essentially if you can come up with an accurate number for your PvP, you can create your build around maximizing this DPS number through changing other stats. So I have a lot of wasted stats. If I have a 0% accuracy, I have a lot of wasted stats for headshot damage and some of the other bonuses that I'm getting, because I'm getting no headshots. Or if I'm a hacker, which is the opposite extreme of the guy who can't hit the broadside of a barn, if you put a 1 in, that's 100% headshot damage. So if he has an auto aim to headshots, well, his DPS with my build would be 225,769 against a regular target. Okay? And so that's pretty much what's going on here. The DPS in the game is not the way you need to be calculating your DPS. Number one, the number is completely broke. We showed that. Number two, it's also logically not sound. So don't use that. Don't build your DPS or your build around the game DPS. Go and get this spreadsheet. Hopefully they'll have this division DPS calculator up soon, and you'll be able to just put the numbers in here, and it looks a little better. But I really like the spreadsheet. I like being able to see all the stuff that it tells me and think about things and seeing all this stuff. So let's talk about, let's just look at the actual, let's look at, so when I uploaded that video, I was saying, look guys, like I'm melting, this is a really good grind build. I am absolutely melting elites with this thing, right? So now let's go back and see, because one of the things I kept saying in the video is like, look, I only have 127,000 DPS in the video. That number is not true, guys. So let's see actually what the damage was that I was doing with my SMG crit build, and we'll see why this is such an important way to do our DPS, because now I actually have a number for it. Not that shitty 127 that it was giving me, because we know that number wasn't correct. So we're going to give myself, for that situation, a 75% headshot accuracy, because I'm running up and just standing right in their faces. Our base weapon damage number is buffed from 9880 to 12,090 something. 12,900 something. Because I have a 31% increase on my elite targets. That is not showing up in my stats, so I have to change that number to base weapon damage. Also, that base weapon damage number is going to change with some of the other things you can do like that. So anything that's specific towards damage towards a target, you can just go in there and test it. I went in and tested it, and this is exactly what I hit elites for a base damage number. Okay, so let's look at that. And then on top of that, so we've increased our accuracy to 75, which the game has at 41. The game actually is counting my base weapon damage correctly. All those numbers are always going to be right. So the only number we're changing is the accuracy to headshots. Okay, so we're getting an extra crit chance. Let's look at the game right quick. What happens when we hit pulse? So let's buff ourselves a little bit. So we can use this thing to buff ourselves. So if we go into abilities and click on pulse, we'll just do pulse. We won't even do some of the other buffs that I have running that I could pop. Our critical hit chance is going to go up by 23%, and our critical hit damage is going to go up by 54%. Okay? So we're going to go 23% for this, which is going to bring us to 59. So we're going to have 59% when we pulse. And we're going to be doing an extra, what number did I say? We're going to be doing an extra 53% damage with crit damage, which is going to put us at 1.94, 194%. So this is buffed. This is fighting an elite target within range enough that we think we can hit 75% accuracy rating. We're within the max range of our gun, which is definitely going to be within 15 meters if we're doing 75% accuracy headshots with an SMG. And we just pulsed them. Okay? So this is my full character build, pulsed within gun range and hitting 75% headshots. My number of damage that I'm doing per second, counting a reload, 366,000 damage per second is the actual DPS that I'm pulling with that accuracy within that range and within that specific situational type thing. Obviously, like we looked at, against a player, my number was 123,000. So when I fight players, I do no damage at all. Like, I can't kill a player with that build. That's why I said, do not go use this build to kill players with. It's horrible. And it is horrible, and now we can see those numbers. 366,000 damage per second, including reloads. If we take away the reload, the amount of damage that I do per second for expending one magazine, I'm doing 643,353 burst damage. And that's how we separate these things. One being damage and one being burst damage. And that's the amount of damage them doing for that one clip with this build against elite targets in that specific situation. And so this is how we need to start approaching DPS. This is this guy did a lot of work. This is the thing that I kind of saw already, and then this is the mathematics after you get the formula put together. And thank God I didn't have to do all the math to do that. It was enough just going back and going over the work and testing everything. So go check out this guy's channel. His name is Skill Up. He did a hell of a job. He's got some really good videos. I'm sure he'll come out with some good content if he's that dedicated to putting in work. And I'll leave these links to these things, and go get the spreadsheet. And hopefully you'll have an idea of what's going on when I talk about these things in future videos, and you'll be able to use a lot of this stuff to your for yourself. So also take another thing from this video, which is that there are people out there who put a lot of work into what they're doing with this game, and you should be supporting those people like the Skill Up guy and approaching the game in this manner instead of following and buying into the bullshit guys that are posting the stuff like on Twitch, like I have 300,000 weapon damage, or whatever. It just goes to show you that the approach has been wrong by many people, and hopefully that this is going to start carrying over through the community, that the DPS numbers broke and that it's not the best way to be doing things, and people are going to start adjusting, and I hope that that I've helped a number of you guys out today. This is definitely the proper way to be doing this, as I think you can see. So, all right, thanks. I'll have another video out soon. Got a new mic today. I hope the mic quality's better. You guys have a good day. Let's go.